In this video, I'm going to start with a very big apology to you guys because last week, you may have remembered, I promised you a deep dive into each of the Triumphs that were available and up for sale at the recent Anglia car auctions back in January. Only trouble was, I put the wrong film up at the very end of last week's video. So, to make amends, I thought I'd give you a special treat and show you the film that I had intended to you as part of this week's edition. So hang on to your hats, stay on to the end and see which car I reckon was the best one of the show. And in the words of Jim Bowen from Bullseye, let's see what you could have won.
Arry The Staaaaagggg!
And it was really great, Anglia Car Auctions getting in touch with us via Facebook just to let us know that these Triumphs were available and up for sale. There's a myriad of classic cars on their auction site. Having bought the Red Barrow UES 591S from them a couple of years ago, just before pandemic, there are hundreds of cars that go through this regional car auction showroom. If you ever get the chance, I'd strongly recommend you go see them because there's just so much to see there. Keep it simple. I've just filtered it by Triumph for this time, and by all means go through the website and have a good look. But just thought I'd deep dive through all the Triumphs that are available. Let's dig in and have a look at the Spitfire then. This is £5,000 to £6,000, a 1971 car. I don't think there's a lot of information that goes with it apart from a chassis number and the fact that it's MOT exempt, as we would all know. 1971 on a K plate in I don't think they call it Old English white now, do they, the Triumphs, but iceberg white, let's call it that. That looks real smart. I'm not sure how many miles it's done or whatever, but just looking around it, as we can see here with the convertible hood up, it does look very tidy. I love those. Okay, it's a Spitfire Mark IV. I know it's a 1300 engine, having checked out the plate on DVLA, so it looks fairly reasonable. The chrome on it looks nice and fresh, nothing too kind of rusty or pocked or anything like that. And yeah, it looks like a good, honest car. I love these Triumphs because of the nature of the way the bonnet's open. You've heard me go on about this before. My old Triumph Herald I had when I first started learning to drive had this bonnet. The whole thing that you'll see in a minute just pops up, which means you can get into engine bay really nice and easily. Exhaust looks good there. Looks nice and straight, as Mr. Brewer, Mike Brewer would say, nice and straight up the sides, and looks, yeah, it does look very, very tidy, doesn't it, altogether, as a option to consider. Probably a bit too small for me, being 6'2" and a few stone heavier than I used to be when I was 17, let's put it politely that way. But you can see all the wheels are immaculate and tidy. The hood looks in good condition. There's no rips or tears that's evident in these photographs either. Interior looks like it's been modified a bit. I'm sure you'll spot there that these are bucket seats that aren't standard. They do, however, have the headrest factored in, which I think, you know, probably in modern day traffic isn't a bad thing. It kind of looks okay with the car. I don't know what it would look like with the roof down. Looks like it's done 24,827 miles. Whether that's warranted or not, I don't know. I would doubt it, but I don't know. It is a manual with the overdrive. You can see the switch there on the gear lever. So, you know, all in all, looks a nice tidy car. I love the dashboard there. That walnut veneer looks reasonably tidy. And again, looking at the roof from the inside, it looks fairly new. It looks like maybe being a replacement hood at some point. The plastic glass is all clear as well, which is good. It is a two-seater, and if you're lucky, you might get a dog in the back, but that's about it. And I love the colour coordinated red seat belts as well. Rear tyre, rear wheel in the boot, as is standard. And if my memory serves me right, there should be a petrol tank in there somewhere. But other end, here's the engine. As I was mentioning earlier, it's really easy to get to work on these. When I was a kid, fixing my Herald, you used to be able to sit your backside on this tyre and then face into the engine. So really handy to get to. You've got your slave cylinders up here, clutch and brake. You've got the battery box here. I think here is somewhere is the air fan and whatever, and there's a matrix in there as well. So it's really easy to get into and make adjustments and repair as you like. As you can see, it's nice and easy. There is a plate on there. I've got no idea what that means. I'll need to look that up. But and there you go. There's the bonnet in its beauty, raised up. Looks like it might have been Z-barted or certainly undercoated here. Isn't a bad thing because they do rust quite heavily on these trailing edges and on the wheel arches in particular. They are exposed to a lot of road salt, grime and muck, as we know. And there you go. It looks like a bit of a crack there in the paintwork, but no. Okay, well, that's the 1971 Triumph Spitfire. Looks like a very good buy, and guide price between 5,000 and 6,000. So it'd be interesting to see what price it goes for. It's up for grabs this weekend, 28th and 29th. So watch out for that. We may do a review after to see what's what, and check that out. Meanwhile, let's go on to the first Triumph Stag. There's no reserve on this one, incidentally. So the 1972 Triumph Stag. Let's see what details. V5, MOT exempt. It's got a chassis number there, so you could check that up and see what's what on that. Looks like it was bought for a short-term need for a 4-seat convertible, while another one was being restored, and the owner currently describes it as a very nice driver, good engine and box, and there's no serious rust, but the paintwork is only fair, which is, you know, nice and honest. They are pretty good, Anglia, that way. And this obviously is the owner talking. When we bought the Red Barrow, I actually phoned up and they did a walk around on the car and talked me through the condition of the paintwork, which was probably pretty accurate. This car was registered May 72, 64,000 miles, although it suggests paper trail it's likely to be 100,000 more than that. It is a historic vehicle, so it doesn't need the MOT, and the last test was July 17 at 62,000 nearly, and paperwork includes all the certificates back to 1980 and a stack of invoices. So looks to be a fairly honest and open proposition. It for me looks like a Mark 1 because denoted by the seats, although there is not a grey badge on the front there, so I'm a bit confused.com on there, so that'll be interesting to see why that is. May have been replaced at some point in its past. Love the gold pinstripe up the side. Doesn't look bad, does it, in the photo? But again, you know, not being up close, having had a bit of an issue with cars I've bought in the past, I would suggest strongly that you need to go and visit it and have a really good look. Again, we've got Mark II silver chrome plate underneath the sill there, which again is and these are Mark II wheels. So I'm a bit confused.com. Is it Mark 1 seats? A Mark II car with Mark 1 seats? I don't know. But certainly for me, you know, I mean, it looks tidy, doesn't it? Panel fit may be subject to review. The tow bar for a trailer on the back looks honest enough, and it does look straight, doesn't it? And I think the owner has been very honest about the background and what it's all about. Not sure if that's mallard green as a colour, but nevertheless looks good. The rear, again, little details, isn't it? Here you've got repeaters rather than the Triumph badge. Normally on a Mark II there would be a Triumph badge there, so it looks to be a bit of a mix, as is the case actually. I think in a lot of our Stags, our UNY 49N, the yellow peril that we're having done, as you know, was somewhere between a Mark 1 and a Mark II, so it has got bits and pieces from earlier and later cars, which seems a bit weird, but I think that was the way it was back in the 1970s. And yeah, it looks all right, doesn't it? The chrome on this one, bumper looks all right. Nice British Leyland logo on the wing there too. May need a little bit of paintwork done on that. On the wing. Again, I'm not close up to it. All the usual spots you have to watch out for in terms of rust, and under here can be an issue, but I don't know if that's the case on this one. The inside looks all right, doesn't it? Looks nice. It is an auto, so it'll have a BorgWarner box in it. The seats look a little bit tired, as they do. The foams inside tend to crumble over the years. It is quite easily fixed and plump them back up again. I've personally always had a bit of flexibility in the squab because I am tall. It just keeps my head below the roof line that way, but you can see these need a little bit of attention. But that is definitely a Mark 1 seat, so it's a bit of a mystery, this one, but you know, it's tidy and a good price. The rear seat looks nice and good. It's got the seat belts in there as well, and the door cards look all right. Could probably do with a polish and a bit of fettling. And the boot likewise nice and tidy. Usually get a bit of rust under here. Doesn't appear to be the case here, although there is condensation by the looks of it. I'm not sure if that's rust or condensation, but you tend to get a bit of that in these boots. They have their own eco-climate, it seems, inside, and the engine looks tidy if used, and you'd expect that in a car of this age, but obviously runs well from what I can see. There's a kind of body and chassis number plates and a few spares to go with it, and manuals as well. So there you go, that's a Triumph Stag 3-litre auto 1972 with a decent hood, and looks like a good proposition for the price. Be interested to see actually what it goes for on the day. That's the first of the Stags. We'll go on to the next one. This is the 1974 Stag on an end plate. Guide price anywhere between 12 and 14,000. Again, you can see here, these are Mark 1 wheels. I was talking about Mark 1 and Mark 2 earlier. The dinner plate wheel covers are Mark 1. Looks to be, it's not a Delft blue, it's all kind of royal blue, I'm not quite sure, midnight blue, with a white pinstripe. Looks really cool. Again, Mark 1 wheels, Mark 2 seats. So it's interesting how these cars wear different clothes, isn't it, over a period of years, but nonetheless looks really smart. I love the British Leyland logo. I don't know if we'll see any more pictures on that later, but the BL logo, NREG, as I said, so 1974. And yeah, looks tidy. The hood probably could do a little bit of adjustment, but nevertheless it looks a good car, and nice and straight. Interior a little bit dark to see, but not sure that's at 23,191 miles. I'll look at the details in a minute. Definitely Mark II seats, and this is where they go a little bit up the sides here. Over time they wear. The seat squabs look quite good. This passenger seat looks in better condition than a driver's seat, but it is an easy fix from any kind of good seat repairing person. And a contrasting kind of lighter blue colour inside, which sets off the car really nicely. Let's just have a look at the detail underneath, and there isn't any details to follow, so I'm not too sure much about the provenance or whatever, but looks to be a reasonable purchase, and no doubt we'll find out more as we move forward towards the auction. Let's go back to the main page, and this one caught my attention. It's a Inca yellow 1972 car, L Reg, so looks again good. I've got the hard top on top, which is smart. I always like the hard top, and they are available hard tops. They always came with the Stags, but a lot of people leave them off the car, so to see one with one on, which can be used in the winter, as is ours with the red barrow, is encouraging. No, looks good, and I love the Inca yellow. This is going to be the colour of our UNY4. Well, it is the colour of the UNI 49M that's coming back soon, and we'll see that in due course. I was in touch with Alan fairly recently, so he's ready for us to have the car back. So yeah, looks all right. Not too much rust and bubbles. There might be a little bit of a bubble there, but again, you know, always check these out and ask for a phone around the car report. They'll do that for you if you phone them up in advance. Give them a bit of notice, as they did for us. The wheels look okay. Again, Mark II wheels. The hardtop looks all right. Mine is desperately bad across the leading edge here. The rain gets under here. That's where they can start to rust. This one doesn't look too bad. Maybe a few bubbles there, but otherwise looks all right. Seats, as ever, can do with a bit of attention. Like we've said a couple of times already, it's not a big deal to get those repaired or fixed. And the dash looks quite nice, doesn't it? Looks all right. I'm quite impressed. Again, automatic here. With a Borg Warner box, no doubt. Looks like 41,000 or thereabouts on the miles. Little bit of patina on the bezels there, but you'd expect that with a car of this age. Again, easily repaired, and as I say, just nice to see it with a good fitting hardtop rear seats with belts as before. Looks nice, and the boot looks okay from what I can see. A little bit of rust, like we said earlier on the other one, on the leading edge of the boot. Just watch that, because these can rust. To get a replacement boot lid is extremely difficult. Alan repaired ours from what was a right mess, only because we were struggling to get a new boot. I did see one at the weekend actually, which was a fiberglass equivalent or fiberglass version, which I'm not a happy bunny about, but if you haven't got anything at all, then surely that's a good thing. We've got a problem on ours too, which I don't know if you guys have got. This little roller here is actually broken off on the runner, so actually the spring isn't working properly. I need to get Alan perhaps just to tack weld it back on for us on the red one before it causes too much damage to the boot, because it is pressing on the skin. Engine looks all right. It's there. It's tidy-ish. Looks like it's had some kind of interest in the past. Little bits of detail here, slight colour coding difference, but hard to tell in a photograph. But there's the fuel filler cap, and now we have the roof off. So love these cars with the roofs off. Not quite sure what's gone on with the chrome strip round here. Looks like we've had 1 or 2 rivets added. There is a way of doing this, which involves clips underneath. You can't see it. Maybe I'll show you in the summer on the red one, because I've got a small tear on mine round about here where the mechanism has damaged the PVC. So I need to replace this PVC cloth, which is available. You can get that from Rimmers, for example, for only for a few quid. But you've got to take all this stuff off and then glue it back on with some foam underneath, and then it repairs itself. But just something to be aware of. So there you go, 7,000 to 8,000. You know, that's not a bad price for a Triumph Stag 72. L Reg looks better than my Red Barrow currently, if I'm really honest. But as ever, I've got to stress, we can't actually see it up close and personal, which, you know, you can always judge a book far better by its colour and cover when you're actually in front of it. Let's have another look at the premium then. We talked earlier, didn't we, about 1972 Triumph Stag here. This one is going between 18 and 20 grand, so it's top end, especially now. I think prices have dropped a little bit. Here we have the V5 is present, MOT date 10th of January 24, so it's just been MOT'd. Don't know if there's much detail. It's a rarer Mark 1 manual. Had an engine rebuild a few thousand miles ago. Gearbox been done within 4 years. Other work's been done which includes a new hood, seat retrim, 4 new Blockley tyres. Okay, not heard of them. And additional fan and header tank, saving those overheating problems. Registered in May 72. Although it's a historic vehicle, it doesn't require an MOT. It has been given a fresh MOT anyway, valid through to 24. 67,000 are on the Speedo, and well presented Stag comes with a V5C heritage certificate, which I'd encourage you to get from Gaydon. Actually, they give you a heritage certificate if you write to them, and a good history file that shows considerable expenditure. Where have we heard that before? I think mine is up to about 50 or 60 grand now. The UNY 49M from all the receipts that I've seen. And 760 quid service in November 20 at 66,000 miles, and also a new steering rack, da-di-da-di-da. So there we are. Looks very nice and tidy, doesn't it? And just flicking around, you see here's the Mark 1 denoter I was talking earlier. That grey badge means it's a Mark 1 alongside, let's go back one, these dinner plate wheels. So it looks authentic. Seats, headrests, and also the fact that the I'll talk about that in a minute. The convertible hood actually doesn't have a quarter light, so it should actually have a quarter light there, I'm pretty sure. So that has been replaced. I think it did say, didn't it? Includes a new hood. So they've replaced it, I think, with a Mark II hood, but I'm pretty sure the Mark 1 had a little quarter light in that corner there. So it's just something to be aware of when you look at these cars. But it does look lovely. Love that white versus black contrast. It certainly stands up in the winter sunshine very nicely, and not any rust on the bumpers or anywhere else for that matter. Aerials on the right hand side on this car, just so happens. But once again we have the little
Mark 1 reflectors,
which I think probably was came with the cars at that point. But you can just see okay, so yeah, maybe this was the Mark 1, and perhaps you guys can let me know. There's a Stag badge and a reflector repeater there. Reflector, I think it is. Repeaters on the front on a K-Reg plate. And yeah, so looks tidy, doesn't it? Wheel arches look up together. They don't look rusty or bubbled in any way. And you've got yourself a nice car. Tyres look in good condition. The panel fit looks all right, doesn't it, from what I can see? And each of the wheels is up together. Tidy. Hood, we know, is new, albeit it may be from a Mark II, not a Mark 1. Quarter lights would normally be here, thereabouts, if it was authentic Mark 1 hood. And again, door cards and interior looks good. Manual with overdrive. Never driven a manual. Would love to, actually. If anybody has out there, let me drive one and compare it to a Borg Warner driven one, which is all I've ever driven on these Triumphs. I like the Monocle Stag logos on the carpets there. Looks smart. And the seats, you can just see the difference, can't you? Looking at this one versus the other, just how these kind of bolsters either side are tidy, and the seat squabs are nice and plump and firm. and it's up together. Can't see the miles. Was that 67,000? We did say, didn't we, earlier on? Just double checking there. 67,421. Yeah, looks nice and up together. Authentic looking radio there, original radio, which is always nice to see, not a modern equivalent. Can't really see the interior there too well, but looks all right. And rear seat with speakers in the binnacles in the little cubby holes there. Some like that, some don't. I personally would like to keep those little cubbies free and put the speakers somewhere else. You can actually do that on the dash. There is a modern speaker, multi-speaker that can go in the dashboard of the Stag that I've seen available, so it's just something to bear in mind. No seatbelts in the back here, but then it didn't have to when it was new. This was new seatbelt technology back then. Can you imagine that, driving around a car without seatbelts on? But when I first started driving in 1979, we did, as I testified to crashing two Ford Escort Mark 1 and Mark 2. I was driving the Mark 2 and I didn't have a seatbelt on. It wasn't my fault, but the last thing I remember before hitting this guy who pulled across in front of me was, I haven't got a seatbelt on. So brace, 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 as I saw the bonnet going northwards as we crashed, and we wrote off both cars. Long story, won't bore you, but it was my ex-girlfriend's father's car, who was very magnanimous in his debrief that cars can be repaired, Tony, you can't. So that was very nice. At least I thought that's what he said. Okay, and engine looks cool and very tidy. They're authentic as well. It's got the standard cooling bottle. You know, if these cars will work. I'm not sure if that's a fan there or not. I don't think it is, or a temperature sensor maybe. Can't really see. But these original bottles do work. I know everybody complains about these things drying out and blowing head gaskets, but if they're maintained, they do work all right. Some like to have the Stag Weber tank bolted to the top turret here that gives you a higher water level with a little sounder, and nothing wrong with that. But ours is okay and has been so far, so we'll continue to drive it for as long as we can, incident free. He says confidently. It's only overheated once, and that's because I didn't do a rubber hose up properly. That was my fault, not the designer of the car. A few marks on the engine there, just proving the authenticity of the cylinder heads, and here's the LD body kind of shape tag and so on. It looks like it's got some halogen lights on it too, so some upgraded headlamps, JRO 41k, and there you go, 18 to 20,000 pounds is the guide price. So really interesting. That's the kind of top end Stag. We'll have a quick look, won't we, just at a Triumph TR6 whilst we're here. We might as well. So TR6 1973, 12 to 15,000. I love the TR6 actually. I've never actually driven one, but would love to. Any detail on this? It's a 2.5, owned by this vendor since 2013, only done 1,300 miles since. That's amazing, isn't it? Been fitted with MX5 seats, although the originals do remain with the car, so they can give you that. Benefits from new hood, tyres, throttle bodies and linkages. Described as driving well. Comes complete with a large quantity of receipts, back to 2009 and 2017. MOTs to 2017 when last issued. Bills of sale, blah, blah, blah. A few spare parts also supplied. The mileage recorded 84,000. So quite a respectable looking motor. I guess these are the last of, I call them the hairy-chested sports cars, aren't they? Roof down, top off. Not that I could at my age these days. Wouldn't dare. Probably get arrested for worrying people. Sunshine. Why wouldn't you? Country lanes, beautiful. So this is L registered. It's got the wire wheels with the knock-on, knock-off kind of fixing there, which I think is good, in white. Looks tidy, doesn't it? I love it. It's quintessentially English. I love the black panels as well. There was a batch of cars, Stag the same. In fact, RUNY 49M, which is 73. It was a period in 73 when the back panels were actually blacked out with kind of matte black paint, and I think that gives a car that certain look. We're certainly going to do it on our UNY 49M car. In fact, Alan has just got to do that. I did remind him the other day, so that's the last bit that's got to be done on our car. Fuel obviously through the top in the boot there, but what a great looking car, perfectly straight. Look at that, doesn't that look tidy in the evening sunshine there? Probably about 4 o'clock because it's winter, but doesn't appear to have any problems at all there. Looks really nice and tidy, and wouldn't you want to get your hands on this. If it wasn't for my missus, I probably would. But looking at all four wheels there, you've got some Q-only tyres on there that look fairly fresh and new. The hood looks tidy, very clean, up together. Interior, loving the wood veneer, and also the steering wheel. Doesn't it? A matching gear knob. Looks really cool. I have one of my little Herald actually, just like that. I was quite chuffed with that for a few quid from an aftermarket, but it suits the car, I think, and gives it that rugged and yet classy feel. There's the MX-5 seats, which kind of suit it actually, to be honest. I don't know if you want to swap back to the originals. You might do if you were wanted to be a purist, and that's fine. Equally, from a safety point of view, modern day crash damage and whatever, you do have to think about being shunted up the backside. Sometimes we are treated badly by our fellow drivers in our classics, I have found, especially if they're smaller cars, as they are compared to modern ones. A lot of modern drivers seem to think they can bully us around, in my experience. It's more problematic in Harry's MG BGT, I'll be honest, than it is in the Stag, but nevertheless, size is a bit of an issue, as they say on the roads. I mean, there you go. So mileage, as we said, I think was 84,000, so that's indicated on the speedometer there. And just love the whole look and feel of the car. Got all the gizmos, switches and badges and whatever, and looks like a decent convertible hood there as well, and enough place for the dog or a picnic or a basket, whatever, for your nosh if you're going out for a picnic somewhere in the woods. Here is the engine, which looks very, very smart. If I'm not mistaken, that looks petrol injected, so it's a PI version, I think. I may stand corrected by that, but that looks to me like a PI setup, fuel injected, so it's going to be quick. And you can see here all the air intakes. I think these are injectors here, or the fuel probably goes in there actually, but the injectors are there. Anyway, you know that, tell me. But doesn't that look smart? Very smart indeed. And in fact, go back one, I think those are the injectors there, fuel injectors going in. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's a petrol injection, which is even better, isn't it? So that'll be even more pokey and more exciting and more fast. What could be wrong with that? And there's the commission plate. And again, all these, I have done a video actually. 19 denotes the paint colour. You can look that up in a Triumph manual. Actually, a lot of the manuals have it in. And the trim is the what colour the trim was, whether it's leather, black colour, whatever. And that's the commission number, which again you can look up online. And yeah, doesn't it look nice and straight and tidy? What a lovely car.
So the TR Tony choices between the top one, the white 18 to 20k one, versus the Inca yellow one, £7,000 to £8,000. I'm drawn between the two, I really am, and they were fantastic looking cars. Now, if you'd like to see more from Arry the Stag, then click the link on this video and be sure to watch us on a journey when we picked up the Red Barrow in the first place, which is guaranteed to have a few thrills and spills along the way. Thanks for watching.